Welcome to the Garage Network podcast. Join us and the occasional special guest as we discuss everything automotive, from fixing cars as a technician, owning an automotive workshop or business, overall work-life balance, and even the occasional laugh. In this episode of TGN Talks, we're joined by Peter Tippner, who is the General Manager of HSY Auto Parts. Peter's got quite an interesting story how he went from being a fighter pilot all the way up to now running one of Australia's largest European parts suppliers. So we hope that you guys enjoy this one as much as we enjoyed making it.
We are joined with Peter Tippner from HSY. Hello, Peter.
Hi guys, how you going?
And you're the General Manager, correct? GM?
That's correct, yeah, General Manager
Fantastic.
of HSY Auto Parts, based down here in sunny Melbourne today.
I love the way you check in the window.
Yeah, no,
Actually, not today. Sunny Melbourne at the moment.
At the moment, exactly.
Good
I
change.
did like that you had to check if it was still sunny. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
GM of HSY, wow. So that's a big role.
It is a big role, yeah. It keeps me very busy, but it's a very interesting and diverse role. So, I guess what does that entail? HSY is still a privately owned company in Australia, and I report up to the two owners or the two directors of the company, and I'm basically charged with running the strategic vision of the organisation, coming up with the strategy, implementing the strategy, and making sure the day-to-day operations run smoothly so that we can continue to get parts out to our customers on a 4-run-a-day basis. So it's a very, very wide-ranging role, that's for sure.
Yeah, family owned. So I recently learned that. I just by default assumed it was another one of those massive corporations with multinational sort of interests. But so it's actually nice to see, though. It's a big company for it to be privately owned.
Yeah, that's right, and wasn't always the case. Last year was our 60-year anniversary, 61 years this year, and still privately owned. Not the original owner; he's passed away. But two gentlemen that worked in the organisation when the original owner was still alive took the business on, and really it's those two guys that have been the secret to HSY's success, particularly over the last 20-odd years, that's seen it grow from a 2-3 branch operation to the 15 branches that we have now across Australia. But yeah, it is quite rare actually, particularly in this industry, to have an organisation the size of ours and still be privately owned. It definitely has its positives and its negatives. The positives are we're not publicly listed, so there's not a whole huge range of shareholders that we have to
keep everyone happy, yeah,
and report to, and all the rest of it. We very much have the freedom and flexibility, to operate the way we do, which gives us a lot of time to work with our customers and adapt and be very agile quite quickly. It has, the negatives in that there's not a free-flowing bucket of capital and money, that you can pull and go, yeah, we'll try this, or we'll try this, or, we'll go and host this event over here. But, I think it's really, for the size that we are now, we're about 110 staff, and like I said, 15 sites around Australia. It's pretty much, in that sweet spot. We've got some great plans to continue that growth. But it's been great, and I'm very proud to be in the position leading such a great company and a great bunch of people.
Now, have you been in that role, or just actually even more so? How long have you been with HSY for?
I started with HSY 2 years ago, and I started, or just over 2 years ago. It was the start of 2022. And started in the role of general manager. So it was a newly formed position. It was previous to myself coming on board, was run by the two directors, and they got to the point really where they were looking to step back and take more of a supervisory director role over the organisation, and get someone in that could help them scale the company and set it up for growth. Someone from a different background, and probably someone from a little bit younger to them, to inject some fresh ideas into the organisation and really see it continue to grow, but continue to be successful, continue to be privately owned for generations to come.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Now, I think the big question has to ask, how did you get there? So, I mean, I have a little bit of insight, but not a crazy amount. But I think, what was your career path look like before getting into that role? It's a large role. It's a pretty big role. Well, from my perspective, anyways.
Yeah, I've got a diverse background. Definitely not from the automotive industry. I did have an interest in cars growing up. My dad, mum and dad were both migrants. So mum came out to Australia from Austria when she was quite young, and my dad came out from Germany in his mid-20s, and he was a qualified diesel mechanic. So we always had European diesel cars, which, in the 80s, I was pretty much the only person in Melbourne driving around in what felt like a 1978 or something diesel Golf. There wasn't many of those kicking around. Everyone
proper car.
then, that's right, proper car, yeah.
Proper
You're
car,
talking
yeah.
Jeff's language. You are talking Jeff. As you were saying that, all I could see was Jeff's
has he got a
smile getting
sensational haircut, he's got a fantastic taste in vehicles as well.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
All I could see as you were talking, Jeff's smile getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
But it was weird because all of my friends at school it was either Ford or Holdens, Ford or Holden, Ford or Holden. I was like, Holden, we got a Golf. Like, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I think it did, 0 to 100, if ever, in about 3 or 4 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I think I knew more about glow plugs actually than I did about spark plugs, growing up around that as well. But anyway, that was pretty much the extent of my, automotive industry knowledge, was through Dad and his friends. And I had a really big interest in aircraft. I always, I liked machinery. I liked mechanical things. I liked things that were loud and that went fast. And, that naturally led me to liking aeroplanes. So I went to school and grew up in Melbourne. And I was lucky enough when I finished school to get a position in the Air Force, and went off to Canberra, joined the Defence Academy there and did a uni degree. And I studied a science degree there, and then was lucky enough to progress onto pilot's course. And through that career, I spent 15 years in the Air Force, graduating from pilot's course as a fighter pilot. I flew F-18s for a number of years. I think through my interest probably in the science, physics and maths background, combined with the mechanical side, I got selected to become a test pilot. And I went and studied over in the UK for a year at a school that's called Empire Test Pilot School. It's down south of the UK, in Wiltshire, near Salisbury, and the Air Force base where this test pilot school is right next to Stonehenge. And of course, I didn't know this at the time. We lived in the town, and my wife and I went walking around the town, on one Sunday early on there, and we just kind of walked out of the bush. And I don't think it's called a bush in the UK. It's probably a forest or something.
Go on, Jeff. Give us some
woods.
Woods.
That's
right. The woods.
That's it. Yeah.
We walked out of the woods, and all of a sudden, voila! There's like Stonehenge.
That's wild
in the background. So that was an eye opener.
That's wild.
So tell the truth. You had a wild night out. You got lost. Because I'm pretty sure it's well and truly signposted as Stonehenge. I've never been, and you decided you were going to push them over. That's probably more the truth.
Right, exactly. So I went and studied to become a test pilot, which was really interesting. Over the course of a year, test flew. It was something like 22 or 25 aircraft type in the year, all through Europe, and really learnt about how aircraft are developed, why they're developed the way that they are, how to improve them, and how to be that link, I guess, between designers, maintenance people, and operators. And that, I'll probably talk a little bit more about that thread in a moment, but then I came back to Australia, and I was a fast jet test pilot back in Australia for 5 years, and then went back to a squadron, which was just about to deploy over to the Middle East. And it was at that point in time that I did my 15 years, and I decided that was the time for me to get out. I wanted to take my career on a different trajectory. I really wanted to focus on my family, and for me, the best part about flying was the testing side, and working with the machinery, working with a really quite a tight group of really smart people that just wanted to problem solve. And that's where my interests lay. So I got out, I did a bit of a career change and did some consulting, ran a few businesses. And, how did I get into HSY? We were in COVID, and I was running an aviation business, and we were developing a product, and I needed somewhere to store the product for a little bit of time. And I knew that HSY, I knew Mark, one of the owners, quite well. And I rang him up and said, look, have you got a warehouse space in Canberra that I can store this thing that we're trying to build for a little while? And, I had no idea how big the warehouses were or anything. And that conversation actually then, led on to how's work, what's going on. And it was from there that, fast forward 9 months, I think, or 10 months after that conversation, and I started at HSY, leading the company. And the thing that really got me kind of excited about HSY and the organisation was, firstly, it was very evident to me, and still is, that HSY is a really people-focused company. It's, from the owners down, HSY is very invested in its staff well-being, and also that includes our customers and suppliers as well. Like, at the core of HSY business philosophy is really a people-first approach, and I really wanted to be part of an organisation that put people at the forefront of doing business. And the second reason I really decided to make the move probably to the automotive industry is my time in the Air Force saw a really big change between, 4 and 4.5 generation fighter aircraft to what they're calling 5th generation fighter aircraft now. And that was a change from traditional jet engines, traditional radar, traditional, architecture within the aeroplane, to full stealth, full fly-by-wire, autonomous aircraft, AI-driven, interconnected, blah, blah, blah. And the automotive industry I could see going in the same trajectory, already years ago, with the change from normal car to, some other non-internal combustion engine type of car. And the conversations that you kind of hear around the automotive industry now are exactly the same ones that the aviation industry were having, probably 10 years ago now, as they tried to grapple with this change in technology as it was coming down. So I thought, I've seen it happen once before.
Done that before, so why not do it again?
See if we can help, do it again.
Yeah, wow. Look, pretty clear you probably lived most people's dreams being a fighter pilot, let's be realistic. How did you find it making that switch from, I dare say, high adrenaline, high-paced life back into, I guess, GM role is probably going to be just as chaotic, if not more?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a different kind of mind shift.
Different chaos, yeah.
Yes. similar chaos, different challenges. You know, the chaos of being a fighter pilot was all kind of, you know, contained within the aeroplane, and
it was all your problem,
Business, you know, completely different. You've got, you know, what's happening over here with the staff, suppliers, customers. Oh, look at that. The exchange rates dropped to, you know, rock bottom. It's different challenges. But look, I think for me, I really enjoyed flying jets. It was just, there was nothing like it. You know, it's probably like what a lot of Formula One drivers say about driving an F1 car. You know, does it take the enjoyment out of driving normal cars? Probably not, because there's nothing that's even similar to it.
Of course.
And it's the same with flying a fighter, you know, at those speeds. But you find challenges in other things. And for me, I really get the enjoyment out of finding challenges in business and in sport and physical activities, and, you know, trying to wrestle kids and young puppies and all that sort of stuff.
That's wild.
What I want to do is I really want to go to Canberra and see what's in HSY's warehouse now. You know, is there something big under a sheet in the warehouse in Canberra?
In the corner,
There's some great braking product, great filter products. You know, everything.
and then a spare jet. Just
something, a secret.
Yeah. So look, I want to ask you about the testing, because this is again me being interested about. But I think it's what a cool gig to be able to fly fighter jets, and also obviously when you say testing, is that like, does this work, or does it work or is that, can we not know? I don't even know.
There was probably
military stuff. I don't know.
There was probably two or three different types of testing that I really did over the 5 years. The first type was I got involved in new aircraft selection. So when the Air Force was thinking about buying new aircraft, they would send out a test pilot to go and fly the different options. And usually there was a couple of test pilots and an engineer that would come along, and you would write an independent report about what were the pros and cons of this, etc. So the roulettes, which are the aerobatic team, they, well, recently, probably not so recently now, but upgraded their aircraft from a PC-9 to a Pilatus PC-21. And I was part of that test team where we flew to the US and flew to Switzerland, test flying the contenders for that project. So that certainly was a highlight. Doing formation aerobatics over the Swiss Alps was, you know, fantastic.
That's wild. That is wild. Yeah.
So we did a lot of that testing. That took up a fair bit of time. The other part was a lot of my testing was around air-to-air refueling, right? So we can refuel aeroplanes on the ground, or we can refuel them with the big tankers in the air. And when I was a test pilot, the Air Force made a decision to purchase a new air-to-air refueler from Airbus, getting made in Madrid in Spain. And so when we took receipt of it, my job was to go up there with another test pilot and two aircraft and define where it was safe for normal pilots, so non-test pilots, to conduct air-to-air refueling operations. So that was different altitudes, different speeds, at day and at night, in cloud, a combination of all of the above. So that was exciting. And then the third area of testing, which is probably more traditional, is when they make a change to an aircraft or change the software, which happens, you know, reasonably regularly, or they want to strap different sensors or whatever it happens to be onto the outside of the aircraft. Then it's really a test pilot's job to go up there and validate what it is the engineers have come up with. You know, quite often the engineers...
It'll work, eject.
Yeah, that's right. They're like, don't worry, it'll be good. You're like, all right, do you want to sit in the back seat?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to build it, someone else can test it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was probably the three main bits. And, you know, long gone are the days of traditional test pilots when Chuck Yeager and all those guys around, you know, that was probably the real heyday where test pilots were ejecting and unfortunately passing away almost on a weekly basis.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays, all the simulation and all the computers and everything that goes into modeling what's going to happen is so good. You know, they get it. They can get it fairly accurate as to what's going to happen up in the air. So our job is to go up there and test it out in real life conditions.
That's nuts. Now, do you think any of those skills that you learned, obviously keeping cool is probably one of them, but any of those skills that you learned in the Air Force, have you been able to adapt any of them in sort of what you're doing now with HSY?
Oh yeah, 100%, Costa. Like, I think, particularly test flying. The whole point of test flying is really being a project manager. You know, the test flying and flying the airplane at the end is just the last little bit of it. But you're trying to corral a bunch of diverse people towards one common goal. You know, and we do that in business all the time. Like, you know, whether it be in a workshop or as a supplier like us, going, right, what's our goal? We want to provide the best service possible, you know, with high quality European parts and get them out to customers. Whether it's that or whether it's we've got to take the jet up to twice the speed of sound and 40,000 feet and try to not break it, you know, different words, but same sort of actions, you know, getting people on that pathway heading up. So that was probably, you know, project management, definitely leadership, you know, definitely trying to lead people around, trying to communicate to a really diverse range of people, you know, what your intent is, was one that bled across as well. You know, we, as fighter pilots, we had a really kind of unique and maybe bespoke language that we spoke in, you know, that was just fighter language, fighter pilot, you know.
Yeah, of course.
We're trying to communicate to engineers and we're trying to communicate to technicians as well, whether they're, you know, engine, armament or electronic technicians, you know, what the issue is. So those communication skills went a long way as well.
And it's such a different language. Like we have similar things with our staff where we say, you know, the language we speak in the workshop is different to what we tell a non-technical person. Like if grandma comes in with a flat tire, you know, doesn't have to know the rotating mass issues that she just wants a tire fixed. So language is so different. It's so different. I can imagine in that realm when you talk to an engineer, then a technician, then you could also probably relay that to someone who has no idea at all. But you know, that's wild, absolutely wild.
I think really similar, and you raise a good point. Like, it's just about how it is you describe what those words are, you know, and what you're trying to get across, and trying to maybe, you know, grandma, she might just care about, you got a flat tire, you got to fix it, where someone that's more interested in cars wants to know a little bit more, you know, detail and being adaptable to that.
Absolutely. That's cool.
It is definitely a cool story, Peter. You know, it pips anything that I've done. You know, I lived in Blackpool for a long time, and you know, I probably saw some. We used to have some. You know, we had we used to make fighter planes like Eurofighter and all that stuff, and it was always worth seeing it. You know, and you were probably a guy like you that was doing the testing. We'd stop work and watch you doing all your fun stuff, and we'd all be jealous.
Yeah.
All be jealous.
Yeah.
Well, you've been on a plane once, Jeff. I've seen you on a plane before.
Yeah, I mean, I came on a boat to Australia. You know, it was a very small boat. I was clinging onto the side of it. Look, I'm definitely a bit jealous. I'd have loved to have done that, but I don't know. I was just too busy trying to play with golf diesels.
I knew Peter had you when he said golf diesel. I knew it.
Oh, he did.
Actually, there you go. When I was a fighter pilot, I went and bought an 86 as my daily drive, 1986 Golf diesel as well. It was a 5-speed. I thought I was king of the world, and I think I was the only person that had definitely had a diesel Golf, but it was certainly the slowest car in the whole squadron.
Okay, so I was just going to ask you.
Turbo as well. That would have been an NA.
No. In '86, so it could have been. They did do a Mark II GTD, and they were quite okay. But so
there was no GT to it.
You didn't get that one. So the one that, so your first one was a Mark 1 of 77, which was a very early diesel. But yeah, it was like half a step up from a Mark 2 diesel, like a 1.6, proper, really noisy.
That's
diesel.
right. And I think I'm trying to remember, the one my mum drove had one headlight on the front, one on either side, and the one that I got, which was the 86, had two headlights. And
you had the sporty one. You had the sporty one.
No, I used to actually keep the grills with it, so it was a single headlamp conversion. When I say it was a conversion, it was undo 4 screws and a couple of wires and fit one in. It wasn't really, but yeah, you always look better with the single headlamp, so it always looks a bit more sleeky.
But that's different.
I'll have to send you some pictures. Hang on a minute, Costa. I'm in my element now. So I was into old. So same year. So it was at 80. It was in 87, but it was a Golf GTI. So I think 90% of my wages went on insuring this car. And I put van panels in the side of it, and I managed to, blagger, whatever you call it, hustle a set of fancy wheels for it. And every now and then I come across a picture of it. God, I love that car. My favorite car in the world. And it was still slow, but it was a Golf GTI. I'd got my cone drill out, and I would cheese grate the airbox, so it sounded really good.
Who you?
Yeah, I was 37 years old.
I was gonna say,
yeah, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. How was Jesus' first soccer game? Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's hard to say when life was in black and white.
That's right. Oh wow. So plans. So obviously, HSY. We've noticed this because we obviously recently we partnered with HSY and been sort of lucky enough to see how, and deal with some of your team. And I'll tell you what, they're so definitely passionate about doing things the way that, well, at least we think is the right way when it comes to our industry. As obviously we're probably your consumers. So I mean, the direction and the sort of way they're approaching the growth of the business, I think, is absolutely in the way that I would like it to be done if I was a consumer, which is probably why you guys were such a great and easy fit when we were sort of having that chat. Where do you guys see the business going over the next sort of 5, 10? Is there a plan? Obviously, there must be a plan, but is there sort of any goals that are sort of emanate out that way, if we're allowed to hear them?
Yeah, sure. I think first of all, thanks for that feedback. That's really good to hear, because that really is sums up the core of our strategy. So within our world, the HSY business world, it's like a 3-legged stool is how I describe it. There's us, stuck in the middle. There's our customers and there's our suppliers. And as someone, an organisation that sells car parts into the independent aftermarket, we can only sell on demand. We're not pushing, no one goes, oh, awesome, you got air compressors for sale, I'll go buy 50 of them because I really want them. It's a really it's a demand that needs to get pulled out of us. So our whole philosophy is trying to put ourselves in the customer's shoes and go, right, how can we make life easy for our customers, which is the workshops? How can we grow their business? Because if their business grows, then ultimately our business will grow, and that's the same message we pass through to the suppliers. Because we're only buying off our suppliers if it's products that are getting pulled through by workshops. So the whole HSY philosophy with how we stock our branches, how we do our delivery runs, how we operate our online ordering platform, which is My HSY, is really geared around making it easy to do business with from an end user perspective. So it's good to hear that. So what are the plans, I guess, for us? Our main focus in that 1 year or 5 year period, we want to continue HSY growth. It's important for us to not stall, because we don't want to get overcome by other players in the market. We want to be around for the long term. So for us to grow, we'll do geographic expansion and we'll open up branches in areas where the population's growing, the European car park's growing, workshops popping up, so that we can support, customers that we don't reach at the moment or don't reach so easily. We're definitely investing a lot in digitisation across the whole business, so inside and out. So that's improvements to My HSY on how you can order, but also improvement add-ons to that where we're looking at, okay, well, what can we do from a digitalisation perspective to give our workshop customers more situational awareness on where their parts are coming, where are they on the journey, when are they exactly going to get here, and things like that. And also then internally, for us, with our internal business systems to hopefully then, reduce the cost of doing business so that we can become more price competitive and pass that on through to the end user. So they're really kind of the areas of growth that we're focused on. And then there's the diversification pathway that we really started a year and a half ago now with Workshop Solutions adding up, or starting up, where traditionally we did automotive spare parts. With Workshop Solutions, we're moving much more into, well, what is it? What else is it that a workshop needs to be able to perform business at the best level? Whether that be tyre trolleys, ADAS machines, high quality hand tools, etc., to try to get that whole, workshop package happening. And I think, that would lead on to then, well, what are we doing down the 5-year path? Well, I think pretty much what everyone's doing in the industry, which is having one eye on what's happening with electrification or something that's whatever the next iteration of internal combustion engine is. And I'm really focused with our team to go, look, be aware of it, put some of your brain space to it. Let's keep tracking what's happening, but don't drop the ball on what our core business is now.
Yeah.
Because, that's going to be here to stay for a long time.
That's hard. That's hard. I think even as us as businesses in that space, it is so hard to be so aware of what's coming or what is perceived to be coming. And then also not to deter you from what's currently working. It's bloody hard.
Yeah, exactly. And like with limited funds available as well, what do we do as a joint industry? Where do we put our investment funds? How do we find people? All of those challenges. So,
of course. Actually, on your equipment side, only recently did I find out. Obviously, I was speaking with Dean and also had a few interactions with Dave as well, and he's helped me out in a couple tools and equipment on that side of things, and definitely have a decent range which I wasn't aware of, which is cool to see because I think it's quite specialised on the stuff that you guys are doing is different to or most of your other suppliers. So that's a pretty cool thing to see as well. That's cool. That's fun, mate. So
yeah, I think what you say there is that bang on. In the terms of it's good to have an eye on what's going on in the future, but I think a lot of people have got really tied up in, do you know what, we're really going to be out, we're going to have another 5 years in this, and you can't think like that. You know what, there's always going to be something bigger and better on the horizon. But look, I do agree. I think we've got years left of the internal combustion engine.
Yeah,
I think we've discussed this heaps of times. Like I remember, because I'm second generation mechanic, and I remember my dad when I was recently, but a couple of years ago, EV was on the radar, and we started really getting prepped for that, thinking it's going to take over the world because that's what everyone was sort of pushing down the pipeline. And then I remember having some conversations with Dad, and it was like, sounds just like when carburetors were leaving and EFI was coming in. Every technician, mechanic thought, that's it, industry's over. How are we going to learn this? They're not going to break. That didn't happen. They're not going to break. Computers are going to fix it, and we're going to be doing nothing. Like, I think that being aware of what's coming is super important and preparing for it. But I don't think we're going to be obsolete for a while yet.
I think if we drew out, a cycle of technology change, whatever technology change it is, you'd probably see the same things happen through that cycle of, people going, oh, what? This isn't going to happen. It's never going to work. And then it's probably, you go through, oh God, here it comes. It's happening.
It's happening.
Get to the end and go, oh, wasn't that bad?
Wasn't about it. Oh wow, there's more work now. Oh no,
Yeah, exactly. What do we do now? On to the next challenge. But
That's
like
right.
similar. My dad, he told me stories. He was born in the early 40s in Germany, and even back then he was, praying at night time that the world wouldn't run out of petrol because he still wanted to drive cars, in the
right.
late 50s and stuff. And same, back in my last industry with aeroplanes, it was the same thing when we went from 4.5 gen to 5th gen. Everyone's saying, what are we going to do? How does it all change? And in reality, it did change. But if you go out onto a flight line now or into a hangar where all the maintenance is performed on an aeroplane, it looks very different now than it did 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. Back 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was lots of oil, lots of drip trays around, lots of spanners, lots of everything. Now it's a very clean workplace. There's room for everything, highly specialized tooling, highly trained people, and a whole bunch of laptops, getting plugged into aeroplanes to diagnose what's wrong. But the technician ability to problem solve, and to think about what's going on, that skill set, hasn't changed at all. It's just applied in a different sort of environment.
100%. That's the automotive workshop. That is literally now the automotive workshop. Like that is crazy. That is so alike. Like now, if you go most, and I will say most, you're seeing that change. Like not many workshops that at least we deal with have those greasy, grimy, dirty floors. They're all pretty clean. The drip trays are disappearing. Laptops are everywhere. So I mean, we're getting there as well. So it's going to be a cool change, I reckon. Might make it easy to find staff. Who knows?
Yeah.
So obviously, you guys also have another incentive with HSY. You got your Evolve Festival coming up. Have you had much involvement in that aspect of things?
Yeah, definitely. So this is the second Evolve Festival that we've run. The first one we ran similar time last year in Melbourne. We had it in Port Melbourne in the Timber Shed, and it was a great success. So Nick Redmond, who leads our customer relations and marketing team, is charged with running the event. We really had a thought at the start of last year that, look, we want to really be this business partner. We want to pull these three pillars together of us, our customers and our suppliers. And we want to work together to grow our customers' businesses. How can we do that in a unique HSY way? And so we came up with the Evolve Festival, and we called it a festival, very different to it being a trade show because we wanted that festival feel. And it was a roaring success. We had all of our really valued suppliers coming down with stands. We had food and drinks available. We had training happening throughout the whole afternoon in dedicated technical training room sessions that weren't, they weren't a pitch. It wasn't a sell fest. It was more, hey, look, these are some common problems. This is what we're seeing downrange. Here's how you deal with them. And we split the day up so that we gave opportunity for workshops and workshop owners and apprentices and TAFE students, the whole partners, a whole range of people that were there to network together, and discuss these topics. So, it was great. All we wanted to do was just to create an environment so that people could get together and the whole industry could benefit. And we're going to replicate that, hopefully bigger and better, this year in May up on the Gold Coast at SeaWorld. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, one of our very good friends, and Jeff will probably attest to this as well, Jesse Doherty was telling us about it. And we sort of have a bit of a rule on the Garage Network. If in doubt, do what Jesse does. So he'll
I need a t-shirt made with that.
Oh, mate, I think we've got Jeff and I both have life-size cutouts of Jessie in our bedroom walls. It's a bit of an interesting conversation when we go to bed, and I'm saying goodnight to Jessie instead of the missus. But why are you laughing, Jeff? You do the same.
The good thing is they don't have to. They're not very big cardboard cutouts.
No, that is short. That is small. Yeah, correct. Yeah. The life size, that is small. But no, he gave us a bit of feedback and definitely got us excited about it. So we're really looking forward to this one. So we'll be definitely there with a bit of a tribe coming down to check it out. I think it's going to be a really fun time.
Right,
we're going to drag some Sydney siders up, aren't we?
I've threatened them that a couple of them were trying to complain about the distance. I go, mate, I will hire a bus. If your stress is about the distance, I will hire a bus and pick you up. I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all.
A diesel bus, maybe.
A diesel bus. That's right, golf. Combi, yeah.
Oh, stop it.
Hopefully it's a cool day because the whole air-cooled thing.
Part of the reason actually we wanted that festival feel as well was, my wife, she comes to a lot of work events and she sits there and rolls her eyes half the time going,
yep,
why am I here? So having that festival feel was as much for us as it was for our partners as well.
Absolutely.
To get them involved. And this year, I think even more so up at SeaWorld on the Gold Coast, why not make a weekend of it? Bring your family up, go on the rides, do all of that. So I think, it'll be great.
Well, that's what we've all done. Like Jeff and I, and also Pete as well. We're all taking family down, and I think it'll be a good. Which look, it shouldn't really need one, but the reality is, with life being so busy, it's nice to have an excuse to go and enjoy some time away. That's what we're sort of looking at. So it's going to be heaps of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm dragging Amanda up. So she'll hopefully meet some of the people that I speak to all the time.
Well, they're going to make sure that they're real. When you're on the phone at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I promise it's just Jessie. Just the time's different.
Oh dear, you're disgusting.
I just wouldn't say anything bad about it. That's really cool, Peter. I mean, I'll be honest. I could probably talk to airplanes and jet fighting for the next 6 hours if we have it. But I think we'll leave that for maybe when it's not on an offline conversation. But
over a beer at the festival, Costa.
Perfect. A beer at the festival, 100%. I'm down for that. A beer or 7, whatever happens.
Perfect.
Now we're going to have a stall there. So I am told that our little Garage Network store is actually closest to the bar. So I don't know why they decided to put us there, but I mean, fate is fate.
That's right. There. Maybe it's one of the natural laws of the universe.
Yeah, or they've heard the rumors. Yeah. No, it's going to be a good time. Peter, thank you so much, mate. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can check back in a few months and maybe see if there's anything new. Maybe after the Vault Festival and see if there's anything new on the horizons for you guys.
Beauty. Yeah, more than happy to. And look, thanks very much for inviting us to come on board and tell the story tonight. Tell you a little bit about HSY and the philosophy, and really happy to be part of the Garage Network as well. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
No, you're welcome, and likewise for us as well. And your story is just sensational. People don't associate people with your background being in industry and in this industry, and I think to me it proves like HSY are a great company, and you kind of see why they've got the right people involved in the business, and it's guys like you that make that. So thank you to you and HSY.
100%.
Thanks, guys.
See you, mate. Have a good one.
Don't forget to join our private Facebook page if you are an automotive technician, and also subscribe to our YouTube and our podcast channel. They are all called The Garage Network. Thanks, guys, and see you next time.